What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Candid Couch. First things first, I want to thank you guys so much for the love and support that we got after dropping our first episode.
Absolutely.
I mean, we really, really appreciate you guys showing out for us, and we want to grow and we want to build, so we thank you guys so much. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about any and anything. We get into the candid conversations, we get comfortable, and we get, real with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate the support. We just love how much you guys are just interacting with us in the comments and the likes. Keep it up. We love it.
We appreciate it, you guys.
All right, so we're going to jump to the question of the day.
All right, we're going to get our episode started with this question of the day.
All right, question of the day. Should women be stay-at-home mothers and wives?
That's a good question. What do you think?
I think women should work and pay all the bills. No, I'm just joking. But no, I think women should have the freedom to kind of choose in a way. I know that's not everybody's situation, but I know some women like being home and, being with the kids all day, and it's a joy to them to see their kids, grow and learn new things. They're really passionate about that. And because I think we talked about this at one point. Like, I know you're working right now, and I know that you miss Yara like badly. Crazy, like badly. I know, like, we always talk about it, how sometimes you wish you could just stay home and just be with her. And I know some women, like, sometimes look at it in a negative connotation where it's like, I don't want to be at home, I want to work, and that's great too. But I know that there's something deep down in women, I know, that just have that drive, like, man, I miss my kid, like, even when they're working.
I think that we really just want the ability to have it all, and that's not easy to do. Like, we want to still have our individuality as a person. We still want to fulfill whatever needs and dreams that we have in our own individual self. Because truth be told, we're moms, but we're also still people. So like, I want to be able to accomplish things as a person. And then also that'll be something that my children will be able to look up to and be proud of when they're older. But I want to be able to thrive in my career, but also be a great mother. And sometimes, I mean, you feel like maybe you can't do it all.
Yeah, I know it can definitely be challenging. But I say, if you have a situation where you have your husband or boyfriend kind of making a great living and you want to be home and you want to be with the kids, I say go for it and do it. There's nothing negative or bad about that. That's a beautiful thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, at all. I think if you have the ability to stay home and raise your kids, I think that it benefits everybody involved. I mean, to be honest with you, I get mommy guilt every time I leave the house for work, because it's just like all I want to do is be with my kid all day. And I know that in a real world, in a realistic mindset, sometimes that's not always possible. But I mean, we build and we hope to be able to make it to the point where maybe we can just take some time off, to be able to really invest in our kids with our time,
Exactly. And then on the other spectrum, you have women who want to work and have these dreams and aspirations, and that's beautiful as well, because you don't want to feel held down to just being home all the time as well. So if you have dreams or anything you're chasing, and you still have that time with your children, I say go for what you're pursuing as well. So
I believe the roles of women in society are changing, and I think it's a beautiful thing to see. And I know that we can't have it all, but I think that we can find some sort of healthy balance to really be able to do what it is we want, but still be a fantastic mother. I don't think that we should be limited,
I totally agree with that. So what do you think? Like, I want you to answer that question. Should women be
So my verdict is, I don't think that they should have to. I think that it should be their choice on whether they want to, but if they have to, then they have to. Daycare can be dangerous. Daycare can be expensive. And then, mothers like me who have a real deep issue with trusting other people with my kid, like it can bring great anxiety, so it really just depends on the situation. But my verdict is, I think that they should have a choice.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that you can still have your dreams and aspiration and be at home, meaning
and still parent. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, you can work from home and still chase your dreams, chase your goals, and all that stuff.
And that's becoming more common in this world. Ever since quarantine, it's becoming more common, like, to be home with your kids and to still be able to work and, thrive in your career. So I think it's possible. What do you think?
Absolutely. I know that that's what we're pursuing right now. I work from home right now, and I know that you're kind of in that pursuit right now. So we can kind of
Yes,
be
trying.
home together, raising our daughter as we work as a team. I know that's like that's a huge benefit in my opinion.
So I say yes. I say yes, women should be stay-at-home moms if they want to. It's their choice, it's their decision, but I don't think that it should be put on them just because they're a woman.
Yeah, I don't think it should be forced upon because that kind of stirs up some feelings of, oh man, I'm stuck at home. I don't
Like
have a
somebody's forcing you.
yeah, you're stuck at home. You don't have anything to do, or once you, I guess, do your homely duties, it's like, man, and like, what do I do with my time now,
Right. I think that it's a blessing to be able to find a nice balance in both.
right.
All right. Let us know in the comments. What do you guys think? I mean, if you have any experience in this or if you just have an opinion, let us know what you think. Go ahead and hit us up in the comments. So, our topic of the day today is gender roles. Um, this is a pretty good topic, but first things first, I want to get into what gender roles actually is so that there aren't any misconceptions, misunderstandings. I'm going to read the definition of what it is from Google.
Right.
Gender roles in society means how we're expected to act, dress, groom, conduct ourselves based upon our assigned sex. For example, girls and women are generally expected to dress in a feminine way, be polite, accommodating, and nurturing.
Some good details right there. Let's see some statistics.
Okay, so I have some statistics. And this is kind of going to get us started on what we think about these statistics. So I'm going to read these right off a list. And it's basically a percentage of duties that are done in the household of people who are together, married,
Hmm.
and it's going to be categorized by gender.
Right.
And I'm not going to read there's a equally done part. I'm not going to read that part because if you know math, you can just do the math. I don't want to take up too much time on it. But I just want to do it for a comparison based on societal views.
Right.
So laundry um, is done by 59% women, 13% men. Cleaning the house is 51% women, 9% men. Preparing the meals is 51% women, 17% men. Caring for the children, 50% women, 7% men. Grocery shopping, 45% women, 18% men. Washing the dishes, 42% women, 19% men. Paying the bills, 37% women, 34% men. Family activity planning, 37% women, 10% men. Make decisions about savings and investments, 19% women, 31% men. Keeping the cars in good condition, 12% women, 69% men. And yard work, 10% women and 59% men. What do you think of that?
That is very accurate in my opinion.
How so?
Because I feel like women typically do run that house. I mean, you could say the man buys a house and the woman makes the house a home, and all those things that you listed are ways to make a house a home. Some people may look at it like, oh man, women do everything. Yeah, it's true, but like if we like it or not, I feel like most women like tend to just do those things.
Naturally, I think sometimes we're sort of trained up in that way as women. But for me, I find it funny that when we got down to money, cars, and yard work, it seemed like that was when the male um, participant was more involved. And I just find that interesting as we're going by these statistics. Like, why do you think that when we got down to those last three categories, those are deemed more of male gender roles? So,
Right.
why do you think that they were, and we're only talking about this study? I'm not in everybody's house, so I don't know what
Yeah,
y'all
of
do.
course, of
But
course.
why do you think in this study that they were more involved in those last three categories?
I mean, I'm sure if everyone, every single person on the planet took this test, the numbers would be different.
Right.
But from the people that actually took the test, generally the woman kind of runs the house in a way, like in terms of all these duties. But I think the men typically are like more geared to like fixing the cars and mowing the lawn, things like that, because it's just more common for men to like be outside and like
Why though?
uh
Why not be
I
outside?
feel like I don't know, man. I just feel like with especially with the cars, it's kind of like maybe it's like a project because most
Maybe
men,
it's sort of hobby related.
yeah, hobby related or
Well, why I don't
like
like to
a
cook and clean then? That could be a good hobby.
like a project or whatnot. Most men love projects, so I feel like the car, it's like a huge project. That's like, man, it's like you're working towards something. It I don't know. Maybe men don't see washing the dishes as a project. It's kind of like I don't know.
I mean, it kind of is one. It's the same thing as washing the car. It's just a
I
different
guess,
object
yeah.
and more of them. So we have a video that we wanted to that we want to get you guys to check out, and it is along our topic, and we do want to discuss the video, but we want to dive more into the topic. So we're gonna play this video, and then we're gonna kind of dive into it. We're gonna dissect it.
Why don't the women want to cook and clean for the men anymore?
Because they're tired, bro. They have to go to work every day. That's not hard.
They're tired?
Yeah, they got to go to work every day, just like you do.
What are they tired of?
Of working. It's not hard. I mean, I shouldn't even be like, I don't even understand the question. Like, they're tired. Aren't you tired when you get home from work?
They're working every day, so they're tired. That's why I don't want to cook or clean.
Yeah. You think I want to work 8 hours and then come home and then cook and clean? I mean, I do it because I have to. I have 5 children. But yeah, I mean,
do you have a woman right now?
What's that?
Do you have a woman right now?
I've been married for over 20 years.
Okay. Does your wife work?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the roles in a marriage?
What are you talking about, roles? Everybody does what they have to do.
Well, okay. What do you do? What does she do?
For a living?
No, in the house for the marriage. What do you guys do? What are your roles?
I don't understand the question. She does what needs to be done that day if she has time to do it, and if she doesn't, I do it. I do what needs to be done that day, and if I don't have time to do it, she does it. Roles, I don't know what you're
how do you not know what roles are in a marriage? You're married for 20 years. You guys don't have any roles?
Exist. Because those don't exist. Like, I'm not white. I'm not a white Christian man. I don't.
What are you talking about? I'm not white. What does that have to do with anything?
Oh, because you're trying to live up to like some white supremacist ideal of the
what are you talking about?
I don't subscribe.
Nobody said nothing about no supremacy.
Teamwork makes the dream work, friend. We a team. Ain't no roles.
What do you mean there ain't no roles?
It's not that hard to understand. You said, why do women not want to cook and clean? They're tired. They have to go to work.
Okay.
I answered that question.
Okay.
You said, what are your roles? I said, we're a team.
If there's something that needs to be built in the house, who builds it? You or your wife?
Depends on what it is.
What do you mean depends on what it is?
Like if it's a toy for the kids, you know what I'm saying? My wife's better at putting stickers on, so she builds it. But if we're talking about
that's not building nothing, man.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Stickers on something? You've lost it.
It's still a task. But my wife's an interior designer, so she can build anything.
I ain't got time for no foolishness. He gone.
All right, so clearly we see two opposing sides here in this clip. Two different guys having a different opinion about gender roles. My view is it's definitely a team effort. I think everything should go 100 on each side. What do you think?
I agree. And in the video, I just find it funny that he was like, what are your roles? Like, what are your roles? He was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? We're a team. Like, what are you talking about? Whatever she can't do, I do. Whatever I can't do, she does. And he was just like it sounded like he was trying to dig for something that just wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when we look at a household, we think that it should run the way that society thinks it should run. So let me ask you as a man, like in terms of money in a household, like, do you think that men should pay all the bills?
It depends on the situation. I think we address women staying at home, raising their kids. And if that's the case, I believe the man should be the breadwinner, bringing home the cheddar. But
the
if
bacon.
we have bring home the cheddar, the bacon, the bread, whatever food you want to put in that place. But yeah, I think the man should be the sole provider if the wife is staying home and taking care of the children. But if the wife wants to work and she has aspirations and whatnot, I think I think it should go either 50-50, or depending on it depends on the income as well. If the man's bringing in more money, I think obviously he should be paying more of the bills. The wife can help by paying some of the lower bills that can assist the man in that way. What do you think?
It's really hard today to live a very comfortable life. I mean, depending on what your profession is, but it can be hard to live a comfortable life if there aren't two people working in the household. And like I said, it really depends on what you do. But a lot of times it really is about teamwork. If we like to spend a lot of money, then we got to make a lot of money. If we like to go on fancy vacations and we like to go out to eat all the time, if we got kids, like kids is a game changer. So I think that it really just depends on what your household and what your bills look like. But I do agree that if we're giving our full effort, I want to say that on a woman's perspective, if the man is giving his full effort to paying the bills, but also helping at home, like I think that's a place of teamwork where he's paying the bills, helping at home, you're paying bills, helping at home, even if you're not working, like y'all coming together to be like, all right, well, I did the laundry. Can you do the dishes? I changed the baby. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you fold the laundry? And, I'll take the trash out. You do this. It's a teamwork. If you think about a household is basically a business. I mean, we're running a business. It's like a family business. So I don't know too many people running a business where if
By
somebody is
themselves.
right, if somebody is sick or down or, somebody is doing a specific job, they're going to be like, well, I ain't doing that because that's his job. Like, no, because you're going to lose money. You're going to lose momentum in whatever it is that you're trying to
Lose
build.
customers. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's all true. I think that if you look back in like the 50s, and it's like a stereotype where men will come home after work and just get on the lazy boy and kick back and watch some TV while the wife kind of handles the whole house just because he pays the bills. I think that uh it's a different time, so it's not really like that now. And I think that it's fair, even though you bring in the money. Like I believe a wife being home with the children all day, with toddlers or newborns or even smaller young children, I think it is extremely exhausting. I have some experience with it because I'm home with my daughter all day. But I think that plus you have other things you need to do around the house, laundry, cook or clean or whatever else you have to do. I think when the man comes home, I think it should be an equal situation. Like I said before, 100, 100. Since we both live here, I think we both should have some input and, contribution in terms of house daily duties.
Right, I agree. And thank you, by the way. Like I really appreciate the fact that you literally stay home with Yara and take care of her while you're working. Like you're working from home, but still taking care of her. So I think that's commendable. But
Yes.
also I want to say in terms of like what you said about like, back in the 50s or whatever, or this kind of notion that like if you pay the bills, I'll take care of everything else. And then there's no identity in that sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially when you have children, like I take care of the children the entire day. And then when you get home from work, you sort of get a minute to relax, but the mother may not. And that can be sort of a depressing place to be where you have no sense of self. You're a provider and you're someone who takes care of everybody else. You're a giver. You
Yeah.
take care of everybody else all day.
There's no break.
Yeah. And I want to look at this from a different angle. So I watched the show Married at First Sight. And on Married at First Sight, basically these people are marrying people they never met, blah, blah, blah. But so when they're talking to the experts and they're asking, like, for what they want in a wife, a lot of times the men are like, my wife needs to know how to cook. She has to know how to cook. That's like a non negotiable. And I've always wondered, even when they do like the scenes where their family is coming together before they get married, like, I hope she can cook. And I'm just wondering, like, why is it always on the woman? Like, when you get married, like, you better know how to cook. Why do you think that society doesn't place that same pressure on men to know how to do basically everything a woman does? Why do you think that they don't place that on men to know how to cook in order to be married?
I feel like this actually, excuse me, kind of stemmed back all the way back to the beginning of time in a way. Women have always been looked at in a second place type role, like kind of more of a servant type role. And that's traveled throughout the generations, throughout the years, and kind of like, okay, yeah, so Yeah, I do this and you do that. Hold on, can you circle back? Ask that question one more time. I just want to be clear on the question.
No,
Kind of
I was
had a
saying,
thought.
yeah, I was saying that for the show, like they want the men want their wives to know how to cook. It's like a non-negotiable sometimes. But I'm saying for society and sometimes for women, it's not like a non-negotiable for men to know how to cook.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it's expectations drilled into our mind from, if you think, from childhood, because we see our moms cooking, we see our moms doing all this stuff. So when we get older, we kind of like, man, I want my wife to be just like my mom. Your mom's been taking care of you. She's been washing your clothes. She cooks for you. She does everything for you. You get of age, you get married. Like, I want my wife to take care of me, like my mom took care of my dad. That's kind of like a staple. And I think it goes on both sides actually too. Like, I think women see their dads taking care of their mom in a way of, oh, he's fixing stuff around the house. She needs something done, fix the car. He's out there doing it. And then you have some men in the generation that aren't really that handy. And some people are, and it's fine. But some women expect that. Like, I want you to be able to fix this. My dad fixed this for my mom. I think it's something that was kind of drilled in our brain since childhood.
I think so. I think it's definitely whatever your thought process may be is probably closely related to what you experienced growing up. If you grew up in a household where dad paid the bills and mom was a stay-at-home mom, it might feel more comfortable for you to deal with that idea. And maybe if you grew up in a home where it wasn't that way, you may feel more comfortable in the opposite way. So I think it really just depends on how you were shaped. But I want to ask you in terms of parenting, like one of the funnier things that I've heard when speaking to, and to me it's a funny concept, but one of the things I've heard in speaking to men who are fathers, it's, yeah, play with the baby, everything is cool, but I don't change diapers. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a woman's role or a
Abs-
job?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it is the mom's role and the father's role. It's not just the mom's son or daughter; it's the father's kid as well. So I think that job should be equally divided as well. I think that and for me, I don't know. I at first, before I had a kid, the idea of changing diapers was like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, that's not. I'm not interested in that. But as soon as I had my kid, I'm like, this is not hard at all. It's like I never thought that like I have to give her to my wife to change. It's like, this is my kid. Like, I feel responsible to change it. Especially, it's kind of crazy to like if you're cooking or something or doing something, and it's just crazy for me to call you from what you're doing to come change the diaper when I'm right here and I could just change it. Like,
Yeah, and I don't even think it's a matter of whether it's easy or hard, but I think
yeah.
it's more so on like taking the responsibility for the fact that equally the child is both of yours. Equally
Hmm.
it's both your child. So even in terms of parenting, everything that we do in a relationship, in a marriage, whatever we're doing, we should be doing, I believe, as a team. I think that we should be putting forth our efforts. And another thing I want to ask and kind of touch on is in nurturing relationships, sort of women sometimes take on the role, and we're not talking about facts, we're talking about what we observe and what we think in our opinion and what we've seen.
Hmm.
So typically it's the woman's role to sort of nurture the relationship. Like she's the one that sort of sometimes initiates conversation regarding the relationship, the health of the relationship. She sort of initiates conversations regarding what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, planning dates, vacations, all that stuff. So I guess that may be more of the nurturing side, but do you think that men
Hmm.
should play a bigger role in the nurturing of a marriage and a relationship?
Yeah, of course. Like just like the parenting thing, the relationship is we both should input equally. I know it doesn't always go that way typically, but of course, I think men should do better at that, including me. I know I need to do better at that as well. I did want to hit one point on the parenting thing. I do appreciate and like that with our kid. Like, I understand that we have like try to have little mini meetings as it's like a business like we talked about, but we have these little meetings where we kind of discuss, hey, so let's kind of set up like a schedule. How are we going to feed Yara? How are we going to change her? How are we going to put her to bed? And like, who's going to who's going to do what? And I appreciate how we came together and kind of decided how we're going to do certain things, like feeder changer and like have a schedule. I know in the beginning it's kind of challenging because we're trying to figure out what works best for us. So I just want to say I appreciate the fact that we kind of work really well in that area.
Right. Even in terms of getting up at night, that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. I know a lot of women who have told me, like, when they had a baby, that the man did not get up in the middle of the night to take care of the baby or change the baby. Even when you watch like TV shows, when you
Mhm.
watch TV shows, a lot of times like the man sometimes will be asleep and like didn't even know nothing happened last night. Like, you didn't hear the baby crying? Like, no, I didn't hear that. Like, knocked out, slumped, and the woman is up. So even in terms of that, like, I guess as a woman, I had expectations of like, I want us to do this together, because I
Right.
think that it's just too much on one person. And I
Yeah.
always, like, when we first got married, we always talked about the analogy of like filling each other's cup. So even in terms of nurturing the relationship or taking care of our kids or taking care of our household, like we talk about it in a giving way, like to be able to give to one another. So, I mean, do you want to expound on the analogy? You always tell it so good.
um, yeah. Can you repeat the last part?
The cup analogy that we always
Oh yeah,
use.
yeah, the cup analogy. Okay. Yeah. I think the fact that I think we brought it up at one point where you have a cup full of water or whatever, and we both have a cup full of water. Now, when you do certain roles around the house or things in a relationship, or you're kind of uh, putting out a lot of energy, right? That's you, especially for me anyway. You are pouring into my cup and filling my cup. Now, if I don't return the favor in terms of tasks or duties or responsibilities towards you in our relationship or our child or whatever, your cup is eventually going to get low to the point where you're going to be frustrated. You're like, hey, I'm running dry here. I'm getting empty. And then that kind of starts, aggravation and arguments because you feel like you're not getting anything from me while my cup is full and I'm living life to the fullest over here. So I think that is a great analogy we talked about. I think it should be equally distributed between each other. So when you pour into my cup, I'm full for that moment, and then I see your cup running low. I pour in your cup, so we both are being filled. If that makes any sense.
Right. So it's like we can't go. I mean, if you think of the vision in your mind of two cups, like we can't go empty. If I'm pouring into you, you're pouring into me, and we're sort of doing this dance back and forth. You pour, I pour, you pour, I
Right.
pour. Whereas if one cup is pouring completely, one cup is full, one cup is empty. But if we're always just continuing to pour into each other, I mean, I just don't see how that can happen.
The relationship will
Um,
thrive in that
right.
way.
Right. So I think even in terms of like leadership in the home, I mean, what do you think? Because I know a lot of leadership has to happen to run a family and to run a
Right.
home. So what do you think?
I believe it's the man's position to be the leader of the home. I believe God put us in a position to lead our families. Obviously, God first, then men, then the wife, then the children. That's what we believe, and that's what we were brought up to believe, and that's what we believe. We found out on our own. Obviously, in the beginning, it was a little challenging, especially if you're not used to leading a family. That's a huge task for someone who's never led a family before. So that's why we need help from God and other men around us and other people to kind of pour into us, like we talked about the cup analogy, to kind of fill us up and give us the knowledge and wisdom we need. But I think, yeah, of course, I think men should be leading their families and in every aspect, and spiritual aspect in a relationship and child rearing, and all types of things. What do you think?
I think that it's part of the dance to know what your strength is, right? So
Yeah,
if I'm better at this, like, because there are cases, in many cases, where women are better at the finances.
that's
There
true.
are cases where men are better with the children. There are cases where men may cook better, men may
That's right.
fold the laundry better. So it's really about finding the nuance of what your teamwork looks like. And I wouldn't base that on society. I wouldn't base that on what society thinks or what society says. I think that it really has to depend on what's on your household. So we're going to take a quick little break, and we're going to go ahead and hit some stories that are based on this topic. And we want to share some stuff with you guys.
So my story is, growing up, I noticed that my dad did a lot of cooking, and he kind of made it very clear that cooking isn't just for women to do in the house. I mean, men can do it as well. It's a great stress reliever as well. An opportunity to kind of be creative and kind of provide for your family in that way. So I really think it is very important to kind of use use that skill. Well, I think it's important that I use those skills in my marriage. I know it's not always perfect, and it's not always consistent, but it's something I'm working on for sure.
So this was like sort of a big thing when we first got married. Like I can remember growing up, like my dad, whenever it would snow, my dad would shovel, the front of the house. He would shovel sort of a path to our cars. And my dad would clean off all of our cars. He would make sure there was no snow on the cars, no snow in the walkway or in front of the house or anything like that. And I can remember, and he even used to like start my car so it'd be nice and toasty for me, like nice and warm when I get in. So I can remember that was one of the things I just looked at. I'm like, oh, like men do this for women. Like, cause all the women in the house, whenever we would go somewhere, get ready to go when it was snowing, like he made sure that we were good and we were safe. And I can remember when we first got married, like it was my assumption that like that was sort of like a gender role. Like, I won't have to clean the snow because I'm a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that, and I know there was another part of that where you got stuck in the snow, right?
Yeah,
he came.
Yeah, so I had a sort of a low riding car, but I can remember like when we first got married. I remember what the first first snowstorm hit. Do you remember that? And I was so mad at you. First.
Yeah, I don't think I snowed, or I don't think I snowed. I mean, not snowed. I don't think I shoveled. I don't think I shoveled. Not snowed.
So we're married, right? First snowstorm hits. And I got up on time. I didn't get up early or nothing like that. I'm like, surely he'll, scrape my car. Surely he'll, shovel the path and stuff like that. Like I was like, I don't even have to think twice about it.
It's a different time, y'all.
Yeah, and he was in the he was in the bed asleep, and I was so upset. I was like, wait, like I thought surely this snowstorm won't affect me at all. Like surely I walk the red carpet to my car. It'll be hot, toasty, warmed up. Like I won't see no snow won't touch me. Like, and I'll drive to work flawlessly. Like the snow won't affect me. And it didn't work out that way. So I was upset about it. And I'm like, oh, I thought this is what you supposed to do. And like, that was one of the things in my mind that was like a gender role, that just because my dad did it. And I think sometimes we take our behaviors from our parents of like, this is what our expectancy is.
Exactly.
But here we are after 4 years. He's shoveling the snow, y'all. My car be clean. My car be crispy, like, and warmed up.
Yeah, so those are our views on gender roles. I'm so glad you guys joined us today for this episode. Please like, share, subscribe.
All the things.
Hit that notification bell on YouTube. Follow us on all our social media platforms. The Candid Couch. I'm trying to do the outro here. You cut me off. On Instagram, on Facebook. The Candid Couch Podcast. Guys, we really do appreciate you guys joining us and interacting with us. We're having a great time filming these episodes with you guys, and we have some amazing episodes brewing right now. Okay?
Yeah, we thank you guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to us today. Leave us in the comments some stories, maybe some stories where you figured out that gender roles were a myth, or your just opinion on the topic. Let us know what you think. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.